waiting. Wow. So first off, it is an amazing thing that you are in my life, and I'm so blessed to have you. Thank you so much for being in it and being a part of this wild ride of my life. Thank you so much. And there you go. She's got nothing to say after I give her a huge compliment. Already, folks, we're off to a bad start.
But I like was nodding and saying thank you.
Yeah, see that, but those who obviously aren't going to be able to watch this visually, and they're like, wow, she's saying nothing to this compliment. So there you go, Christian. You're already off to a bad start, and you know where this relationship is going.
Hey.
But no, I mean, I've told the story of how our relationship started a few times on this, but I think the funniest kick out of it when I tell people is that I completely did not know that you had a crush on me, and I was completely oblivious to it. And the even funnier thing is obviously when I found out is that you dreaded the fact that I was gonna be on your net team. I mean, I don't know. Like you obviously you're the one that is the spark of the story. So I guess kind of start off about how when you first met me or heard of me and how I guess, just kind of elaborate on that story from your perspective of course how we've met and the fill in the blanks of how we've met, where we left off, and then how we started talking again, and then of course how we started dating.
Okay. So let's see. The first time I remember meeting you, it was at this talk we had on quote unquote reconciling, which if you don't know the term, it's basically if you have a problem with someone not holding a grudge, like just talking it out. So we were in this big talk, and then they were like, "Oh, does anyone have anything to share if you were a second year?" And then Kristen stands up and is like, "My team never reconciled with me, and it was the worst thing ever." And blah 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 blah. Blah. I was like, "Who the hell is this dude? Because my God, he has an issue." And then I was just like, "Okay, hope he's not on my team." And then you announcing my cons, and I don't know. I don't think it really hit me of who you were until we had our first team day, and we were in the van, and I was like, "That's that dude." I was like,
Surprise,
um,
surprise, motherfuckers! I'm on that team.
I was like, "That'll be interesting." Um, and then we didn't really get to know. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I remember our first team day, we were like talking about movies and stuff, and I was like, "That's kind of cool." And then I don't really remember getting to know you that well until like maybe halfway through the first half, I mean, of our year
Yeah.
together.
I mean, when we were at the dreaded net center, or AKA I call the warden's hole, which is pretty much where they keep all the inmates locked up in the asylum. I know there was a couple times I'd like see you in the hallways and I tell you good morning and ask how you were. Like I remember there was on your birthday, I went out of my way to make sure I told you at least happy birthday.
I do
So
remember that actually.
there was those times, but it was more like it's more like acquaintances and interactions, just more like hello, how are you, and then that's how you go on about your business. So yeah, I can understand of like yeah, that guy's on my team. Fuck.
Yeah, but
Shit.
then once I got to know you, I was like, it was totally fine. That was just me making judgments, I guess you could say. Um, but then fast forward, I don't really remember when got a crush on you. I think it halfway through the first half, maybe second, I was like, oh, I think I like him. And then I was like, that's not great. Um,
Explain why that's not great.
no, just like, cause on that, it's like hard to, if you like someone, like just being with them. And I didn't want to have to deal with all that drama. And I was just like, dang it. I didn't,
To basically elaborate, I mean, not to say like if you're attracted to someone or you have feelings for someone isn't a bad thing. The problem with it is knowing how to deal with it yourself, because unfortunately on net you have to deal with those kind of things in a professional manner, because at the end of the day these are 11 or 10 other strangers that you have no idea what they're about and what who they really are. It's just you're thrown into a van and you have to be quote unquote friendly and care about them for literally 9 to 10 months. And especially if you have feelings for somebody, it's kind of hard. And they ask you, the organization asks you not to disclose of them, because it's you're there on business, you're there to do a job, and that can sometimes interfere with the job if you do that. And of course, as human beings, we're naturally attracted to male, females, or whatever the case of the missionary might be. But it's just a nagging little pain in the ass thing to deal with if you do happen to find someone who you're like, ooh, I like her.
Yeah, so I just didn't want to. I was like there for my purpose, and I was like, I wasn't expecting to like have to deal with that. So,
Yeah. Well, that was the reason. Well, that was the reason also why I never had it like anyone I like was like ooh, or like I had like a crush on or anything like that, or and someone I really really liked, because my just mindset was I'm here on business. I have this business mentality. I'm here to get stuff done, and I'm good with friendships. Like, don't get me wrong, I still am friends with all the people we were with till this day. But to me, that kind of thing was just a waste of time, and also was just unlikely. Because what are the odds I'm going to be in a relationship with someone that lives hundreds, if not thousands, of miles away? It's plus and all. If anything, even if it like, oh, I maybe or maybe not. Who the fuck's gonna want to come out to El Paso? This place fucking sucks. I hate it, and they're gonna hate it too. So that was my mindset and thinking.
mhm, yeah, but that so then and then I would like there'd be times when I thought like you liked me too, but I was like, oh, maybe I'm reading too much into it, which I obviously was, but um, and then. I like after net, I was like, okay, like nothing's gonna happen with that, but I'm like genuinely okay with it. Like I still like liked you as a person. I was like, I want to still be friends. So like we would talk here and there, not a ton, maybe like once a month ish, probably.
Yeah, something like that.
And then uh, yeah, and then I don't know what happened, but we started talking more, like to where it got to like once a week ish, and then I was like, huh, this is different. And then I think one day you were flirting with me on text, and I was so confused because like we were definitely like just friends, and then I was like, I just straight up asked you, I was like, "Are you flirting with me?" And you were like, and I was like, and you're like basically like, yeah, kind of, and I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, the thing behind it is when we were started texting more and more. Some people who don't know the backstory, I was set up with dates with friends, and they went miserable. They were horrible. And she would pop into my brain and be like, "Man, Emily would have liked that," or "Man, Emily would have had a good time." And then all of a sudden, it accumulated so much that to the point of like, damn it, I think I think I'm kind of in love with this girl. And so then I guess I kind of was like, okay, I can't just tell her out of the blue, I haven't talked to her. Because it's been a while since we talked. I think the last time I talked to you was like maybe Merry Christmas or Happy Thanksgiving or something like that. I don't even remember. And
Mhm.
then I just out of the blue was just like, hey, how's it going? Long time. And I was still a bartender at this point. And it just became like, yeah, it just became regular. Like we text, and then I call you whenever you get off work, and it just became like that. And then of course our mutual friend of ours, gave me the idea of writing a love letter, which I was nervous as shit about. I've never written a love letter ever in my life of 22 years. Well, now I'm 23, but 22 years of existence, did not write a love letter ever. Not even a little Valentine's Day letter. Never wrote one before. Um, and my process, my thought was, you know what? It's Valentine's Day. It beats in writing this love letter. It beats calling people on the phone, calling you on the phone, and being like, oh, by the way, I like you. Let me know what you think. Clink, and then leaving it like that, because that would be that'd be horrible. So that was just the best option. I think the mail's a genuine way to say, especially being long distance. So I sent it, and of course I was tracking it by the postal service, and it was supposed to get there on Valentine's Day, which I'm like, okay, perfect, perfect Valentine's Day gift. And of course my dumb luck just so happens I text you and be like, hey, do you have your gift? No, we're at Disneyland.
Yeah, it was like a week
Yeah,
and we had to wait.
yeah, literally. So you can imagine my like emotions and like like flares in my brain going haywire. Like, oh my God, like fuck, I have to torture myself and think like God, I had them wait in a whole another week and yeah, it was one of those moments. I'm like, of course she's not gonna get it on Val. Of course, there's always something. But no, and continue. So you go ahead and continue the rest of the story.
Yeah, so then I got the letter and it made me, it was must be, it's one of my treasured possessions till this day. It was very sweet. Basically you just told me how you felt and felt is the right way to say that, how you felt, and then yeah, just like expressed your feelings, and it was truly beautiful, and I cried, of course. I at this point I had given up hope on us, like, and I was like, it's never gonna happen. And then I was like, wait, what? Like, I was just really shocked, like very shocked. I read it like 5 times to be like, is this for real? Like, what is happening with my life
You
right
got to make sure I'm not catfishing or
now? Yeah.
tomfoolering you. I'm not bamboozling you.
So, and then I didn't know what to do because I was like, wait, what? Like, do I still like him? Like, I had to like reprocess everything. So in a way, the letter was the best choice because it gave me time to like think and not have to respond like immediately.
Hmm.
And I think it was that day, maybe a day later, I was like, I got it. And then I think I called you and then I was like, I got your letter, and you're like, uh-huh. I was, yeah, I like you too. And then you're like, okay. And then we didn't really do anything about it. We
Yeah.
kept talking.
The thing that was happening, I just remember that day like it was literally yesterday. It was such a busy day at work. I think it was a Friday. I remember, yes, I remember it was Friday because it was payday. And it was a busy morning. I had the morning shift, and it was a busy morning and a busy lunch at work. And I was so tired, and I gotten my taxes that day, the taxes of the 2019 fiscal year. And this is obviously pre-COVID, and I had a lot of weddings. I had a lot of weddings and plans that summer. I'm pretty sure almost everybody did, but I had a lot of stuff. I had a lot of stuff going, like I was planning to do, and so literally went home and oh yeah, I had like $200 in tips I made that day. That's how busy it was on a Friday, just alone. So I went to go cash to the bank and I came home and I was gonna get on my computer and buy all the plane tickets for the weddings I had in the summer. And then you texted me like, I got the letter and I was pretty much like, oh shit, fuck, okay, here it comes. And thankfully it was because I was afraid of God damn it, what if she tells me like, thanks for the letter, I appreciate it, but I don't share the same feelings. Like I love you as a friend, but I think friend is as much as it goes, and I'm like, ugh, makes me feel like an idiot and which not to say like, oh, I would have been all doom and gloom because of rejection. I've been rejected plenty of times, but I don't know. There was just something in my gut that knew that I had to had to write it, had to send it, had to say it, and ultimately I just felt in my heart everything was going to be okay, like no matter what the circumstance was. And thankfully the circumstances worked, and now I can sit here and say I love you and cheers, and already a year and a month we've been together, and it's been a hell of a good time. So
Very true.
hmm I mean, literally we've done so much. We did the Grand Canyon, we did, obviously you've been here a few times. I've been to California, your neck of the woods in California. Never been in Northern California before.
Yeah, you came
So
during fire. My town was
yeah,
literally on
which was
fire.
fucking crazy for people that never experience like when like not just forest fires, but like not, I guess obviously those who experienced the rioting, but just when people understand like California was on fire, like no, it was legitimately on fire. I never, ever in my whole life seen anything like that. It's just so bizarre to see everything like literally in flames and smoke everywhere and the sky being gray and it literally like when you shit you not when you texted me like it's like almost like looks like it's snowing. It was like snowing ash outside. It was so like wow. It's just so bizarre.
No, it was, yeah, it was crazy. I'm glad you were here though for that because it was super comforting to like have someone around and all of that. But I wish you also could have been here and not when it was burning.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, we love all sorts of things, but sometimes that's just not how life works sometimes. But you know what? It's okay because it all worked out in the end. So, but okay, well, speaking of this, you're like an environmental biologist for the Air Force, correct?
Yes.
So here's a question I want to ask is basically how do these forest fires like happen? Because I know people the main thing that people go to, oh, it's because it's drought, but I don't know, like drought seems like a cop out for a lot of things to just say like, oh, a drought is why California is always on fire. Like, is it more than that, or is it truly just like because of drought?
No, so it's a mixture of a bunch of different factors. So one, drought is a thing, but also improper forest management is also a thing. So there's a group of environmentalists that think that like not cutting down any trees saves the environment, but when you don't clean out some trees, you let this build up of like dead, basically like fire starters build up. And so there's accumulation of the forests weren't properly managed. There really was a drought. Um, and the reason the ones that this year happened was there was lightning in the summer, and that's really rare. Um, that lightning happened. We don't really get that many thunderstorms in the summer here.
Like a lightning storm, like legit like lightning like
Mhm.
hitting the ground like holy
It
shit.
was really so there was like that's what started the ones when you were here, was lightning. Because all the basically you have all this stuff. It's like a fire starters that's ready to burn. It just needs an ignition, you know.
Hmm.
Because when it doesn't rain, it dries out. So you have that. The one 2 years ago when I was in college, those started because the power lines. There was some brush on power lines, and the power lines sparked and caught the brush on fire.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So PG&E, that's our power company around here. They basically went bankrupt because they got sued for causing like cities to burn down.
Jesus Christ.
And then so then now when it gets really hot and wind, oh, so wind, it could get really windy here. Like today we had like 25 to 35 mile an hour winds. But when there's really high winds and it's really hot, you can just naturally start a fire too. Um, now,
Wait, just it being really hot and wind?
mhm, yeah,
How does that happen? What the fuck?
it's like sparks. So like when if you have like branches and trees or rocks that are like getting like thrown around, you can like cause a little spark.
So it can like basically cause friction and spark by just
Mhm,
wind?
yeah.
Jesus Christ. Fucking that just goes to show that like honestly Mother Nature is truly like the biggest force on this fucking planet. Jesus
There's this thing
Christ.
called Diablo winds. So like devil winds, but they're like known to like start fires because like when it's really hot and really windy, it's naturally gonna start a fire. Not all the time, but sometimes. And then
Jesus
if you
Christ.
take that plus like some man-made thing, like a cigarette or something with that condition, it could just get
Oh
out of
yeah, it can just get out of control.
yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's so bizarre. Obviously, it's one thing to just see it on TV and feel, but really when you're there in real life and witnessing it's happen, you truly understand like
Mhm.
the horrors of what it causes to see people's homes and towns and livelihoods just burnt, like and reduced to nothing but ash.
Mhm.
It's just it's just like it's an unexplainable thing to see and just like a thing that makes you question about I don't know. It just makes you question things.
Yeah.
Like oh my good, like it's just insane.
Yeah.
But you mentioned a number one reason why these fires happen is because what did you say, like forest control, or
Yeah, like
what's it called?
improper forest management.
So
Drought.
so explain that.
So when you have like a forest, there's going to be like a ton of different things that are growing in it. Um,
Hmm.
but it has to be managed in a certain way that you cut some of it down so that you don't build up this buildup of just dead things, like debris, like dead trees, dead stuff that needs to be cleaned out, so that you don't have a fire risk that high. You can even do control burns, so that's why sometimes the fire will do control burns to let a little bit of the vegetation burn off so that you don't have so much ignition for if a fire was to start.
So basically, like control fires, like start it somewhere, but at least keep it under control. Like in a sense, like make sure it doesn't like burn down an entire field, just so have it under control with people there.
Yeah, because
I
this.
mean, oh, I'm sorry, no, but I mean, obviously, like you were saying, there are some people that think when you hear like, oh, cut down some of the forest and control it, it sounds like, it's like, oh, you're just ruining it more. I mean, to me, it sounds a little bit like perfect sense because, everything has a balance and everything has, must be controlled in a sense, or otherwise, like if you allow a weed to grow in one spot, otherwise it's going to be all over the place, in your yard or in your field. So I guess the same also applies to a forest. If you control it and also keep it balanced in a way that where it's still allowed to be alive, but also kill off the what's dead out there, you won't have these, I guess, these super raging fires that are tearing half a county or a city.
Yeah, and like fire is a natural part of the landscape in California or this area. Like before it was like Western civilization came in, like it was very common that there would be like natural like fires that were very small because
Hmm.
trees need fire to produce their seeds.
Really?
Yeah, so a lot of them won't grow until there's a little fire, and then that's like their like cue, like okay, it's time to grow or it's time to sprout our seeds. So it's like a natural and needed thing, but obviously humans and fire don't get along well, so we
Hmm.
try not to like let that happen. But
Yeah.
if you don't let that happen, then you're messing up nature's balance.
Yeah. So in a sense, like fire is part of nature's like cycle. Like you do
Yeah,
need it
definitely,
sometimes.
100%. Um,
Well, if you try telling that to like a hardcore environmentalist, all they're gonna say back to you is, "Oh, you're destroying the environment." But when all reality, that's part of nature's course in the environment. Is sometimes that those things just need to happen. Like I never knew that fire needed to happen in order for trees to become healthier and grow. Like
uh,
you don't know. I never learned about that, and that's something I think that people need to understand and know, and that's why I think it's something that really needs to be implemented, and not just in California, but obviously like look at Australia.
yeah. And like the thing is, if Australia and California, they're both what they call Mediterranean climates. So we have the same climate as Australia. So it means like we have long, hot summers where it doesn't really rain, and then in the
Hmm.
winter it rains a lot. Usually,
Hmm.
we're not in a drought.
Yeah.
But if you look at that, we have a lot of the same issues because we have the same climate. So
Hmm.
that's why they struggle with fires. We struggle with fires. So around the world, there's different areas that have like the same climate, but they'll be on like opposite sides of Earth. Um,
Hmm.
but us in California and Australia have the same. So that's why we have a lot of similar issues.
Well, I mean, I didn't hear about Australia ever being on fire until obviously when it came out on every news network and every paper everywhere that Australia was completely on fire and
That's been
like
an issue though for a while. This was just the first year, or last year, a couple years ago, was the first year it was really publicized. But it has been an issue they've dealt with.
yeah. Yeah, no, I never would have guessed. I never would have known that Australia and other parts of the world. Like I'm pretty sure there are parts of the world that struggle with it, but not to the degree of like what we are accustomed to here. And I think, excuse me,
Yeah.
I think that I think it's come to the point here that we're so numb to the idea of California being on fire that we're just like, oh, they're just on fire again. oh well, nothing else you can do. But I think those are just the combination of people that, well, that's their problem, not ours, and also those that are very, no, if you slash down some of the trees and you burn some of it down, that's just completely killing the environment. You're killing the earth and blah blah blah, all this bullshit. And
Mhm.
instead of not actual listening to people that know what they're doing and know, like, the field that they're in, that are telling us, like, no, this is the way to control, not to control, but to allow nature to take its course.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you'll see what happens when you don't allow nature to take its course. It will ravage out and it will utterly destroy itself and all that's around it, which is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean that is not to say that there is a little bit. I don't know if I super want to go down this rabbit hole, but climate change is affecting why we see so much fires. So we're getting less rain, with our winter our winter shorter and our summers longer, so it gives it a longer time to dry out and a smaller period to like become green again. Uh,
Hmm.
so like that is a factor, but that's not the whole story. So I feel like it's being used as a scapegoat a little bit.
So some people are just using global warming as like the main source of why all these fires are happening is because of global warming.
Which it that's not the case. It is a factor. Like don't I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that.
Okay.
Also, it's not the only factor.
Hmm.
So
Like it sounds like it's there's multiple factors to why these things occur.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, and people deserve have the right or should be knowledgeable to the fact, like, hey, it's not just global warming, or it's not just droughts or this or that. It's multiple things.
Yeah, exactly. So it's can be a touchy subject for a lot of people, but it's good to know like when you see stuff like that, it's true, but to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's a touchy subject for people or not. It's like, I mean, I still find it kind of scary that in the next, I don't know how many years, that California is going to be underwater, like very soon. I don't know how soon, probably, but according to things I've read, like very, like soon,
I
like our
think
children's children kind of thing.
I think it's still realistically, I think it's in the like 500 to 1,000 years,
Okay.
but it's definitely on that route. That route. Um, but I could like I haven't read stuff about it in a good chunk of time, but
Hmm.
it's definitely true. But I think it gets exaggerated on how fast that's going to happen.
Do you think that's happening because of the human factor, or do you think it's just nature ultimately taking its course?
Um, I'd say 80%. It's going quicker because of humans, but it probably would have happened naturally, but
Hmm.
accelerated at a rapid rate, if that makes sense. So like
Okay.
that's the whole thing with eh, global warming in general. It's like all of this would have happened, yes, without humans. I mean, but the rate at which it would occur is so much slower. Like
Hmm.
we're speeding it up exponentially, like in so much faster than it would happen. So you hear the thing like, oh, that would happen with science. Yes, but over like generations and generations and generations, not within a couple. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, because and that was actually going to be one of my questions was, it seems to me like people think like global warming is an issue now, but I think global warming has always been an issue since the dawn of existence. I mean, for example, it's very simple. Look at the fucking ice age. The ice age is the biggest thing with global warming. I mean, literally, I mean, I don't know how much it affected the whole planet, but it affected a majority of it, like the whole parts of the ice age. They were basically frozen.
Yeah. So I guess like the thing is, so ever you say climate change or global warming, and you get this stigma with it. But all it's saying is that the world is changing, and that's something that's always been occurring from the beginning
Hmm.
of time. The world's always been changing, but humans we hate change. Um,
Hmm.
so when people hear like climate change, it means the climate is changing. Is that necessarily a good or a bad thing? No, it's just a fact. But
Yeah.
the fact is that we're changing it at a rapid rate. So, and humans, we don't adapt. Like everything adapts so slowly. Like
Mhm.
in evolution, it takes like hundreds of years for something to change. And the way that we're doing is we're saying, okay, we want you to change like in the snap of your fingers.
Mhm.
So it's like I like to think of it like this, like our body, right? When we have a fever,
Mhm.
our bodies can't handle like 1 to 2 degree change. Like we get sick. Like it's like
Yeah.
100 degrees fever, you're like really sick. But like that's literally only a couple degrees higher than our natural temperature.
Uh-huh.
So then think about it for the whole world, like in the ocean, we're changing.
Mhm.
So everything's gonna get sick. If we can't handle 1 degree, why do we think other things and other people and other like species can? I don't know if that makes sense, but
Huh. No, that's an interesting thing to think about. And I think as humans, like we naturally have a tendency and a thought of to think selfishly about like, oh me, or what's gonna happen to me, when in reality we should be thinking what's not just gonna happen to ourselves, but what's gonna happen to those after us.
mhm,
And I think if we start thinking like that, then we can really start to at least come up with more solutions. But I think because the divide is so huge about whether, because there's a lot of idiots out there that think climate change or global warming isn't a thing.
mhm,
And of course, there's a huge divide of, oh, we should just, of those of, oh, let nature run its course, or no, we need to act now to save, or you know what, this is nonsense, doesn't exist, it's all bullshit. To where I think, honestly, ultimately, and this isn't kind of a negative, like, input on there, but I think ultimately nothing's going to happen, and ultimately nature is going to take its course because human beings are so indecisive. Like nobody can come to a whole consensus decision on what to do. And ultimately, I think honestly, in the end, when the end of days comes, it's not going to be some alienistic alien creature that wipes us out. It's ultimately going to be the planet itself that wipes us out from existence. Like Earth is going to essentially like wipe itself clean to be reborn again is what I think is going to happen.
yeah, and I think the reason that it's so dividing is it's when you tell people that the way that their family has lived is causing harm, you're like attacking the person a little bit. If you're saying, oh, the way, like, oh, you're in the oil industry, everything that your family has worked for so long is harming the planet, you're attacking their upbringing, their culture. You're not just saying, like, it's hard to separate the two. Like, if you're somebody whose family was in the coal industry their whole life and you say, oh, we want to get rid of coal, it's like, how do you separate what your family has done for so long to what it's like it attacks people a little bit in a way that may not mean to, but it does hurt. Like, and I think that's why it's so hard for a lot of people to say, "I want to change," is because it's giving up this family identity, especially in certain parts of the country. That I know that I've heard that that's the case.
Mm. Do you have your laptop on like a flat surface?
Better?
Yeah, because every time like when you move, it's like making a noise and it's kind of hard to hear.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're okay. No, but no, that's a very good point because obviously generations have dealt with things that have occurred and happened over the course of history, and I think we're just stuck in that mindset of just our own thing that we're not able to really think about think about what has occurred in our past and what is happening now and what we can do to build towards a better future. I think is a huge problem.
Yeah.
Well, I unfortunately am not in those chairs to make those decisions, so what the fuck do I know? I'm just some guy who lives out here that works for FedEx and moves packages for a living. So what the fuck do I know? But so your family is from the East Coast, am I correct?
Yeah.
So well, that's a big change going from east to west. That's
Hmm.
a big change of environment. So your family lived in the New York area, correct?
Yeah. New Jersey, New York. Mhm.
So how'd they come to California?
Yeah.
Why'd they
So
come to California?
my dad is in the military. He was a chief in the Air Force. And so the Air Force kind of forces you to move naturally.
So
So,
military family.
so they went from New Jersey to their first station was in Oklahoma. and they did not like it at all. So it's,
What's so wrong with Oklahoma? I've never been, but what's wrong with it?
I guess it's a culture shock when you go from this like New York City to
Oh, that's
Oklahoma.
true. To fucking the South and Oklahoma with all
My,
them Southern folk.
yeah, my dad tells a story that like the first day he had to go get his like some stuff for the house, that they moved into, and he
Hmm.
got his wallet, and he was like, "Dang it, I don't want it to come back." And so he was at the register, and he realized, and then he's like, "Oh, just take the stuff and bring me back the money." And my dad was like, "What? Like, are you kidding me?" And she's like, "No, no," like, and he like didn't understand, like being from New York, if you would that happened, you would not bring back the money.
Yeah.
But like he was like, "She just looks so trusting, I had to bring it back." But like he was like,
Oh
that was
man.
just the first sign that he's like, "We are not on the East Coast anymore. Like, what is this place?" And he's like,
Yeah.
everyone would stop and help people. Um, and then he they lived there for like, I don't know, 2 to 4 years. I'm not exactly sure. Um, but then my dad said he knew it was time to leave when my mom was like, "Oh, there's some critters over there," and he was like, "Did my wife just say the word critters?" Like,
She's turning into the Southern twang.
uh, yeah, it was a good. So then they
Oh
put in.
Lord.
There's a thing in the Air Force called a dream sheet. So like if you like desperately want to leave your station, you can say like send me anywhere, please, and then you could put in your dream places, but like it's highly unlikely you'll get them. But you could try. It's like you could try. Um, but they put it in for Spain, Hawaii, and I forget the other one. But they ended up getting Hawaii.
Wow.
Um, so they went to Hawaii, and then they lived there for 12 years, which is like unheard of in the military. You usually don't stay somewhere for that long.
Jesus, I was about to say like, wow, 12. Yeah, I've never heard of anyone that I know that has been military that stayed in a place for 12 years.
Yeah, and
That's
so
insane. Especially to spend 12 years in Hawaii.
yeah,
Shit, and they
my
got the hookup.
my dad was like, I think they forgot about me, but I am not saying anything.
No, don't, I wouldn't say a damn word either. It's like, fuck it, leave me here.
Yeah, so then I was born towards the very end of their time in Hawaii. Um, then we moved to California, and then that's where we stayed until my dad retired, and then we were supposed to move back to New Jersey, but then my parents like went, they had a house, they were gonna get it, but then we went to visit in the winter, and they were like, after living in Hawaii and California, they got not used to the winter,
Yeah,
and they were like, screw this shit, nope. And so
well, well,
they,
that's why a lot of the elderly flock to Florida during the winter. They don't want to deal with that snow and ice shit.
yeah, so we did not move and we stayed in California. So that's how we ended up here.
Military life is such a I couldn't, I just cannot comprehend moving place to place and, you know, changing schools and changing homes and moving from base to base and just all that constant, making your family travel. And I mean, it's not like to knock on military families, God bless them for what they do, but that is just a lifestyle that I think honestly, if I was growing up in that environment, I wouldn't have like, I think I would have personally hated it. Having to start essentially it's like you're starting over. You have to start over from square one. I'm just taking it from trying to put myself in kids' shoes who have been through that. Trying to start at a new school, start with new teachers, make new friends, say goodbye to your old ones, try to keep up with the old ones, and start a new football team or a new school club, and all that. Have new neighbors and new room, new house, and new air. It's a lot of shit for kids and obviously adults to deal with, especially I don't know how some military families and their marriages like last through that. It's
Mhm.
so tough.
Yeah, no, it's luckily like I never had to move in, like I moved when I was young, but I don't remember really.
Yeah, like you were too young to really remember anything.
So, but the harder part was like I think one of the reasons actually we didn't move that much is my dad was deployed a lot, like a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was hard in a different way. So I kind of, it's either like you get one or the other, I guess you could say.
So
Uh,
it's either you travel a lot, or it's either your family member who's in the military gets deployed all the time.
yeah. So, and I don't think that's such the case anymore, but it was because we were like it was post 9/11, like very
Yeah.
war. Um, so I think that affected me, but like in a different way. Uh,
Hmm.
and so, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is.
It's crazy to think how one event that occurred is like universally like changes the world and how we operate, and not just traveling, but looking at things in this different way. Like I don't know if you remember, but I remember at the airports you could literally walk with the person who's flying all the way to the door they were flying to before. Like this is pre 9/11.
Yeah.
Like they just let people like wander throughout the airport. Like I don't even think there was that much really security. Obviously there was some security making sure you didn't bring guns on the plane and all that. The obvious shit, which then again of course the terrorists did it, which, obviously means that the security wasn't that great. But yeah, literally my mom would tell me all the time, you could literally, like, my dad was going on a plane somewhere, you could literally walk up to the door where he's taking off and then just literally say bye to him before he literally gets on the plane. And
Yeah.
you could do that. And you can bring obviously your big old shampoo bottles, your toothpaste, your all your cleaning products with you on the plane. You wouldn't have to get checked by the TSA or none of that. You could just bring whatever the fuck you want, you know. And now because of that, because of the event that occurred, now it's like it sometimes can be a pain in the ass to get on that plane. Every time I've flown, well, during the net years, now so far it's been smooth sailing post net. But man, every time net, they've always had to stop and ask me questions for some reason. Why? Because either I look like a fucking terrorist or I look like an illegal that crossed the fucking border. I guess I fit that fucking description. But yeah, it's like every single time, they always ask me questions, and it's like, God damn it, I'm an American. I just want to get on my plane and I want to go to the lovely land of white people, Minnesota. Can I just go there, please? Come on. No, but it happened every single time. Because I think it occurred like, why the fuck are you going to Minnesota? What kind of businesses or what kind of shit do you got going on there? And I was like, missionary. You got me. Guilty as charged. But no, it's just like, to me it sounds so foreign whenever I hear people talk about things like pre 9/11. It's so bizarre to me because now, we're so used to going through security, going through TSA, seeing the guards like look and be on everywhere, hearing the intercom. If you see anything that's suspicious or a suspicious bag or a bag left there, call security right away, like phone, alert anybody. And also you're on alert too because the day is and the events are drilled so far in our head that, at least for me, when I'm at the airport, I sometimes catch myself like looking around looking for anything suspicious, which I think is a good thing. I'm not saying that's like not healthy, but it's something I'm just very aware of. And it's crazy that like that one event just basically universally changed the world and how we think and operate, whether it's flying, traveling, or basically security.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you my uncle was in 9/11?
No, you didn't.
Yeah. He's still alive, praise God. Um,
Okay, I was about to say like, oh shit.
but he was like I don't think he was in like one of the actual towers, but a building like really, really close by, like on the same
Okay.
street.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, his story is like wild. He doesn't tell it that often because it's like very traumatic.
Hmm.
But he actually was like one. They had to leave and like run to like because they didn't know if like more buildings were going to be hit or what was going to happen.
Hmm.
Um, but there was tons of stuff in the sky, and you're like breathing it in, so his lungs are like kind of like almost encased in like cement and particles.
Hmm.
So he was actually one of the first people to like be diagnosed. They have a special name for what happened, but I forget what it is. But he was on like Oprah or something to like talk about his experience and like be the first one to be diagnosed with like a condition from that. But yeah, he's gonna have to have a lung transplant like not soon, but like in his lifetime from that. So it's wild.
I'm actually like pulling this up. I'm actually pulling this up. Let's see.
Also, I only have 8% left, I hope. So I am like trying to scan my room for my charger, but I don't know where it is.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on. Let me screen share this so people can see it. Um, okay. Let's see. As of December 2017, the most common conditions certified by the World Trade Center Health Program were rhinosinusitis, gastrophageal reflux disease, GERD, asthma, sleep apnea, cancer, post-traumatic stress disorder, respiratory disease, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, depression, and anxiety disorder. So there's like a lot of those things. I don't even know what half of these things are.
But yeah, so
Let's
like
see.
he still has like certain things that um like it affects him from it. But it was just a crazy day because like I remember I was young, like 5, 4, something
No,
like
I
that.
think I was like four. No, I probably was like 3 years old when it happened. Yeah, I was like 3 years old.
But I remember my mom running in my room and like screaming and crying because everyone was calling because everyone thought that he was like in the building. It was like, and I didn't go to school, and like we just kept calling. Well, no, he didn't call, so my like we just kept calling all my mom's siblings, and then finally, we heard somebody heard from him, but it was just like because here in California, like it's a big deal. Obviously, it's a big deal the whole country, but it affected people on the East Coast very differently, especially people from
Oh
New.
yeah, because they were literally like right there. They
Yeah,
were like literally, and plus like for people who have never been to the East Coast, like that whole area of the state of New York, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, they're so close together. That literally, if you go like an hour each direction, to you're in literally in one of those states.
so
So, and of course, like literally, like when you started hearing about the plane hitting the Pentagon and then hitting one of the towers, of course, people's immediate mind and thought is like, oh my God, there could possibly be a plane hitting here
mhm,
or affecting. It's just, it was. I can only imagine. Like obviously, I don't remember that day at all. I really don't. I think I was at my grandma's house, maybe taking a nap when it was happening,
mhm,
but I could just only imagine the stress and just the realization of just literally seeing buildings being literally, or not just buildings being torn, like being destroyed, but literally a plane going through a building and knocking it down. I
mhm,
mean, that's just something that is just, I think is for those people that actually witnessed it, it's just scar. Obviously, those people who watched it on TV, but those people that were there and saw it,
mhm.
it's just something that's scarred in their psyche, in their mind forever.
And
And I don't think that's something you could ever get over truly.
yeah, there's like some like graphic stuff about it that my uncles told me that I was just like, damn, like it scarred me from just hearing it. So I'm like, I can't imagine seeing.
No, I mean, I remember when they finally showed us I think it was my sophomore year in high school. They showed us video. Well, my sophomore year, we were learning about world history, but we were talking about how 9/11 universally changed the world, and I saw the actual footage of the plane, like literally hitting the one of the twin towers. I can't remember which one. I think it was
Mhm.
the right tower. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was just like you're just waiting, and like everyone in the class is like waiting, anticipating, like waiting, and then all of a sudden it just comes in and just boom, smacks it, and you're like, holy shit, like
Yeah,
oh my god, you
but
just don't know what to think.
yeah, it's the people that were like jumping that made the like it worse.
Oh my God. Yeah, unfortunately, that was my sophomore year. I was really in a bad rabbit hole of things. And yeah, one of the things that I watched was honestly footage of the people like jumping from the buildings. Just, it's so horrible. It's
Oh
so
yeah,
like,
it's really horrible.
oh, it's so bad. Oh, like it's almost like inhuman to like look at it. Like, ugh,
Yeah, no.
like but no, it's just one of those traumatic events. Well, man, it seems to me that there's always a big traumatic event that always happens, like every so often. That's got to be big. Like for example, obviously in the 1900s there was the Great War, aka World War One. then the Great Depression, and World War II, and obviously World War II with the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the Nazis and the Holocaust, and then of course, and obviously the atomic bomb that we launched in Japan, that we used to blow up Nagasaki in Japan, and Hiroshima, and I forget the other island. It's not coming to me. It's Nagasaki and Hiroshima or Hiroshima. I think it might be Hiroshima. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um, Lord, people forgive me for not knowing the other island, and then obviously Jim Crow and the civil rights, then Vietnam, and then before Vietnam, the shooting of John F. Kennedy. Which have you seen the Zapruder film, the footage of JFK getting shot?
Mm-mm.
Oh my God, that is something that is just wild. You want to watch it?
I do, but honestly, my computer has 5%, so I don't know if we want to like close out. I'm sorry. I wish
Ah,
I had my charger, but I don't.
there you go, folks. The reason why this podcast can continue is she lost her charger.
I know.
There you go. But I mean, hey, we got what was your computer at? Like 25%? We got like at least 50 minutes in. So I
Yeah.
mean, that's a worth of something. But hey, I appreciate you doing this. Thank you so much.
Um,
Emily, I love you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.